Friday night edition of Kristen Hawkins Live for the Pro Life Gen news of the week. I have a few stories for you. I just have to give you a full disclaimer. I am sick, so if you hear me coughing, that is why. Okay, so there's a few things we need to go over. First is the story up with the Federalist you probably saw on social media the past week. Surrogate mother with cancer forced to end baby's life after pressure from parents. It's a really sad story if you read this whole article in the Federalist of a woman who willingly became a surrogate and was getting paid to rent her womb, was diagnosed with cancer, who wanted to delay treatment so she could deliver the baby alive, and was coerced by everyone and forced essentially into having an abortion to delivering the child. It was an early birth, which they knew was going to be basically killing the child because the child wasn't old enough to survive. This is a sad story. Her name is Brittany Pearson. She's talking about how she felt betrayed and heartbroken by the two gay men who rented her womb, who demanded that as soon as she was diagnosed with cancer, that her child, the child she was carrying, their child, because they, were treating this human being like their property that they could buy, that this child be quote unquote terminated. Um, Her quote is, "The first thing I thought after I was diagnosed with it was an aggressive form of breast cancer was I want to keep this baby safe and bring it earthside. I would have been there. I would have given him every chance of survival. I had people ready to help." And she said the medical team, quote, "tried literally everything they could because they care about me and the baby both, and they just didn't want this outcome." But to no avail because everyone told her to have an abortion. It's a sad story, and I think it's once again proves to us the how wrong surrogacy is. No, surrogacy is commodifying human life, saying me and my partner, if we're same sex, can't conceive of a new human life because we engage in homosexual sex. We want to purchase another human being. We want to make another human being, and then we're going to purchase someone else's womb and rent that woman's body. But yet, if we don't like the child, if the child is tested positive for cystic fibrosis or Down syndrome in the womb, even though we know from the New York Times a majority of prenatal tests are actually wrong, more than 80%. It's like a shocking statistic. She has to abort the child. We always hear about like abortions between a woman and her her doctor, and it's her body, her choice, but not if it's a surrogate. If you become a surrogate and rent out your womb, it's not your body. Someone else is paying you for your body. So no, not only is it commoditizing children, but it's commoditizing women. It's a tragic story. Next up, blue state doctors launch abortion pill pipeline in the states with abortion bans. At least 3,500 doses have been shipped to anti-abortion states since mid-June. This is terrifying. This is a story we need to be talking about. Certain states, like New York, have passed shield laws saying that they're going to protect doctors who illegally ship drugs, abortion drugs, across state lines to states that have prevented abortions. This is against the Comstock Act, which I think it was enacted in like 1890s, which is actually still in effect, which prevents the mailing of abortion-related materials. This law, by the way, let me say again, is still in effect, and the abortion lobby and President Joe Biden and his entire administration just acts like it doesn't matter. So now you have abortionists in this Washington Post article. This woman's like in her basement, and you see her kids' bunk beds in the background in New York State in the Hudson River Valley, and she just literally ships out abortion pills all day long from her basement. Yeah, that sounds really great. She's not talking to any woman. She's not pre-screening her for medical conditions. She's working with a European group, Aid Access, to get the drugs, and then she's shipping them illegally to Republican red states that have acted wisely to protect women from the predatory abortion industry and protect their children. So it's crazy. A lot of the national organizations won't come out and condone this behavior because they know it's against the law. And there could be potential legal ramifications for these doctors, and there should be in the future because it's absolutely sickening. But I mean, the reason I brought this up tonight is don't just think because your state has, prevented abortions, passing, like Wyoming passed Students for Life Actions Chemical Abortion Prevention Act that's gone into effect. Or if your state has passed, like Arkansas and Oklahoma, that's passed and enacted Students for Life Actions Life at Conception Act. Just because your state may have completely abolished abortion does not stop these bad agents in New York and California who now have these shield laws from getting chemical abortion drugs overseas shipped to them, and then they're like hand mailing it in their basements to women in your state without ever pre-screening her for medical conditions, for Rh negativity status, which can make her infertile the rest of her life if she has an abortion and she's not treated for the Rh negative status. It's unbelievable and disgusting. And here we are in 2023 America that people, and then the abortion lobby is so desperate to continue abortion that this is what they're willing to do. Basement abortions with European pills. Great. Wonderful. Like nothing bad's going to happen from that. All right. There's a CNN article. 2 years after Texas 6-week abortion ban, more infants are dying. Let's just back up the train here. CNN is mad that Texas has prevented abortions and that tens of thousands of babies are living and not being killed in abortions. Now CNN, once again, wants to act like they're outraged that there's been an increase of 227 deaths in this year over the last year in infants who died in Texas. First of all, if you're pro-abortion, why do you care? Just simple question I have. It's obviously terrible about these infant mortality rates. In fact, I have one organization that I don't know if I can say their name. I know it's a pro-life organization is actually launching a hotline to help prevent maternal mortality and newborn mortality. And I'm so excited and proud of this pro-life organization for doing this. And they're actually going to be working with a state, and I can't say the state, to help reduce infant and maternal mortality. But one thing you could just, as a statistics thought, is maybe more children have died because more babies have been born. Like if you just want to look at like the pure math and the facts, and you don't want to talk about the emotional side of this, more babies are being born in Texas. Therefore, it's likely that you will see an increase in more children who die from diseases or genetic disabilities. That just kind of makes sense. So it's crazy to link this with the fact that because you're not actually taking in that there's more babies being born. So they just like forgot that whole like denominator thing in the statistics. But it's also crazy that CNN would say this anyway because they're mad because more babies aren't being killed in the womb. I mean, obviously any life loss is tragic, and that tragedy is no matter if the child is in the womb or out of the womb, that's still a human being with value made in God's image, and we mourn the loss of that human being. But it's, once again, dishonest from CNN because they don't really care about the numbers. All they care is they want to do a headline attacking, Republican pro-life states. All right, next article. This is kind of like the ridiculous hire me. Dylan Mulvaney touts herself or / himself for speaking opportunities at schools after Bud Light fiasco sent him running to prove for safety. So Dylan Mulvaney, transgender TikTok influence extraordinaire, is launching a campus speaking tour. Dylan, I would love to see you at some of my campus speaking tours. Maybe we can like cross post and make sure we're on campus at the same time. Maybe even like do like a little debate. It would be interesting. I would just say this: if people getting mad at Dylan Mulvaney for ruining Bud Light sent you running, it sent you running to Peru. If everyone got you so upset about that, I don't know if going to college campuses is the best place, because there's a lot of nasty things that people will say to you on college campuses too. Although I think he slash he her slash he thinks that going to college campuses will be this welcoming experience. But okay, good luck. All right, last article. This is so Robert Kennedy versus the Democrats. Democrats are mad because somebody's like, once again, from the Democrat side, pointing out that Joe Biden doesn't have like the mental or physical fitness to continue to be president or even run for president. He did he's going to give me a lot of interviews. A lot of the mainstream press has been wanting Joe Biden to win because they're terrified a Republican will win. What's interesting about this is, Robert Kennedy Jr. is not considered, or isn't even pro-life. He doesn't consider himself pro-life. He's never been considered pro-life. But he has been talking for years about pollution in our waterways, the effects of pharmaceuticals in our country. And, we've been worried about that too. I mean, this is why Students for Life of America has filed now 2 petitions, to the FDA about the Endangered Species Act. Next week, it'll be about the Clean Water Act, about how chemical abortion drugs, chemically tainted blood, tissue, and fetal remains have been flushed down our toilets more than 5 million times in America since the year 2000. It is absolutely insane. It doesn't make any sense. So I would love to have a conversation with Robert Kennedy Jr. about this. I think this is actually a great way to possibly talk to some pro-choice friends or family members that to explain to them this is how far the abortion industry goes. If you want to learn more about what we're doing on these citizen petitions, demanding that the FDA actually respond to us and have to investigate our claims and our concerns, you can go to thisischemicalabortion.com. I'm going to wrap this up. Hopefully I'll be back next week, non-sicky. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.